Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit WeSellOrlando.net. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What's happening? Thanks.
I breathed right into it.
3, 2. Welcome to the Black. Yeah. Wow, we're off to a great start. Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. My name is Jeff Sharon. Along with, we got a full complement in the house. We got Brian Murphy. We got Eric Lopez. We got a lot to talk about here. Even though we're eyeball deep in spring sports, lots to go over here. As both UCF baseball and softball, we're in UConn. And, one of you was in the snow, right? Lopez, was it really? I know we're going to talk about this more. No? Wasn't what it was all built up? Oh, you weren't there? Okay.
No, I was not there. Mark
I
Daniels,
blew that intro,
didn't I? Was. Yeah, I was not there. No.
Are you glad you weren't there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Connecticut, snow, early April. I mean, well, we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second. We got lots to talk about there. We also we got a guest for today's show. Todd Dagenais, head volleyball coach, joins me to talk about his team's international trip, which they are taking to Puerto Rico this summer, and it's turned kind of into a big fundraising and charity effort on the part of UCF Volleyball to help the folks who are still in Puerto Rico who are still trying to, surviving day by day in the months now after Hurricane Maria. So lots to talk about there. We'll catch you up on the other spring sports as well. Don't forget, you can hit us up at blackandgoldbanneret.com. It's where we post all of our latest content for all UCF sports. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret, and on Twitter, UCF_Banneret. Brian's at Spokes_Murphy. Eric's at Eric Lopez Elo. I'm at Jeff_Sharon. And you can download this podcast, if you don't already, on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Tell your friends, leave a comment, let us know what you think, especially now with the hot takes that are going to be flying coming out of this past weekend. UCF baseball and softball both were up in Storrs, Connecticut at UConn this weekend. We'll start with baseball. They had a Saturday noon game, and then they went a doubleheader on Sunday, starting at 8:30 a.m. on Sunday. So the Knights come off of this UConn road trip. They won the first game 10-8 on Saturday. They lost both games in the doubleheader, 6-2 in the first game, which was played at 8:30 in the morning, and then the second game is scheduled for 11 a.m. They lose 7-6 in that game. So, you look at the situation, they're obviously a disappointing conclusion since UCF is now 4-5 in the conference, even though they're 23-11 overall. But the story from this series was the weather. And even though, it was in the 30s, it was windy, the snow obviously wreaked havoc with the schedule. Murph, you followed this the entire thing. What in the world happened here?
Well, they played games that were on the schedule, and I assume that the schedule makers thought that possibly Storrs, Connecticut in early April would be moderately temperate and not basically Antarctica north But that's sort of what happened, where you had a baseball game being played in the 20s. And, Lovelady said before,
during the day, mind you.
Yes, this was during the afternoon. This was not at night, because they can't play at night because they don't have lights in the stadium in Connecticut.
Oh, by the way,
that's like beside the point. That's why
wait a second. They don't have lights in their baseball stadium?
No,
they don't.
No,
they don't.
Yeah.
That's why actually.
How did I not know this?
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I knew this. I was there 2 years ago with softball, and I saw baseball stadium and the softball stadium are next to each other. Neither of them have lights.
That is astounding.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason, and this is where I'll defend UConn, both teams don't play a lot of home games because of the weather. So a lot of times they're playing on the road for the first month or two. So they don't have, they're probably limited on home dates, and so they don't invest in it, in lights. The problem with that is you're going to play afternoon games, and Murph brings up the Saturday doubleheader. That was a wild game. That first game was a wild game. I listened to the game. Mark was calling the game online. I was listening.
10
I
to
think
8
you
and
and Murph.
11 innings, by the way.
Yeah, I think you and me, Murph, were listening to the game at the same time, because I know we were kind of talking on social media during the game.
Yes.
And it was a wild game. UCF made like 5 errors. They made this incredible comeback. They were down 8-4 in the ninth inning, Murph, with one out.
They were down 8-4 with 2 outs and men on the corners, and tied it up.
Wow.
Yep. And then so they win the game. They send it to extra innings. They win the game. They've got all this momentum, and they decide, we can't play because we have no lights. So instead of trying to, and I remember the clock. I remember I told Murph on social media, hey, I think they probably have about 2 hours maybe of daylight to get this next game in, at least get a majority of the game in. And as I said that, I was listening on the broadcast, and I hear the PA guy make the announcement in Connecticut, there's no more baseball. And they rescheduled it for a doubleheader at 8:30 in the morning. Mind you, this game on Saturday ended like at 3:30. What was it, like 4 o'clock, Murph? 5?
Yeah, like
5?
4:30. It was supposed to start again like 5:15 or something like that. Yeah.
The 8:30 a.m. game, they shortened it to 7 innings, and that enabled it. So they were done with it in 2.5 hours. The final of that was 6-2 UConn. So then they played 9 in for that 11:30. They played 9 innings in the 11:30 game on Saturday, and that game lasted 3 hours and 27 minutes. So it ended around 3 p.m., which at that point you're still in the it's the weather report. By the way, they always put the little weather, and I love UCF is getting really kind of cheeky with some of these. The weather report for this was windiest place on earth.
Snark.
No, I believe it. I've been up there. And by the way, you mentioned the game ended around 3 o'clock. The bottom of the ninth was the last inning they were going to play regardless, because UCF had to get out to Boston to fly out of there.
Right.
So that game was
which,
either
by the way, is no
easy
easy trip from Storrs, Connecticut to Boston.
Of course not.
Well.
It's absurd. So my issue is, and I'll defer to Murph after this, I think UCF got hosed on many levels in this. But number one, I think if they play that second game on Saturday, it's a completely different series, because UCF had all the momentum. UConn burned out its closer and its bullpen. I think they would have had the momentum. Instead, the momentum was shot. UConn was able to recover, not to mention you're playing in non-baseball. Baseball was not invented. When whoever created baseball, and I don't know who the heck invented baseball, but whoever invented baseball, I don't think had in mind, hey, let's play in 30-plus degree weather with wind blowing. All right? I don't think that's baseball conditions. I could be wrong on that, Murph.
It's not baseball conditions. It's not baseball conditions. And by the way, I know who invented baseball. The name is escaping me right now. It's not Abner Doubleday, who is often credited, but it's definitely not Abner Doubleday. So
I know
don't
that
even
the first
go
baseball
there.
game took place in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Yeah. See, and now I'm trying to figure it out as I scour the internet.
Yeah, Elysian. Yeah, it was at Elysian Fields.
Yeah.
Hang on, we're gonna get this anyway.
Yeah. Now we're down rabbit holes.
Yeah,
now we really
carry on.
Now we've gone. So no, I think the issue with the UConn series, you're probably right if they get that game in, because not only does it sort of halt any momentum that UCF might have had, but that 8:30 a.m. game the first game, the second game of the series, on Sunday, that was a game in which UCF committed 7 errors.
Oh man!
In a 6-2 loss. Now the weather report for that was 30s and clear, but I'm going to guess it was a little below 30s, maybe 30. I've heard that it was probably wind chill in the 20s. And talking to Greg Lovelady today, he said that he doesn't think. He said on the record he doesn't know whether or not they should have been playing that series, which will tell you right now he doesn't think they should have been playing that series. And he's got a point because there are some conferences, major conferences, where if the temperature drops below a certain level, I think the Big Ten stops at 40. Once the temperature gets below 40 for a Big Ten game, they stop playing. So for them to play, obviously it's a home field advantage for UConn because those kids can live in that weather. But it certainly hurt the Knights, and he attributed those errors. They made 12 in 2 games up there at UConn.
That's incredible.
He attributed those errors to basically nothing but the cold. We have talked a lot about this team's defense and their mistakes in the field, but they were clean against Miami on Wednesday night, and those 12 errors in 2 games, the first 2 games against UConn, he said were purely due to the conditions, the kids not handling it. And although he has talked about, the kids need to handle, if they want to play in the pros, they need to handle playing in fall weather and October weather. But this was different. This was beyond the wall almost. So,
and Murph, here's the thing, because it's funny how people are like, well, both teams played in those conditions. No, first of all, you can't duplicate that. You can't practice that. It's not like when you're used to playing in 75-degree weather and 80-degree weather. You can't duplicate that. It's just not. It's not possible. Number 2, anybody that's played in cold baseball, that is brutal. Like the bat, their hands. You can't get a grip on the ball. I think that caused actually, Murph, if you remember in the last game of that series, I thought it was where UCF kind of lost control pitching wise. What was it? A wild pitch walk off. I guarantee you, part of that was losing the grip of the ball, because if you're not used to playing in the cold, the ball feels different. I've known this from talking to baseball players and softball players. It has absolutely a huge impact, and it mind boggles me that we're letting student athletes participate in college baseball games and college softball games in 30-degree weather, risking health. And I'm not being dramatic about this. I mean, there are you can get pneumonia, you can get sick real easily if you're not careful. I understand professionals play in that kind of conditions, but they get paid a lot of money. College players don't. I thought it was a joke that the series got played. And I thought, I throw it out. I would actually, what I would do, I would put not an asterisk, but I would put a snowflake next to that series. Each result, put a little snowflake if I was running the media guide, and just remind them, well, there's a snow asterisk there, basically. It's what I would do. It's unfortunate. And I agree. I think the league, I do agree with the Big Ten, for crying out loud, which is a Midwest conference. They're used to this weather, has a weather. What was it, 40 degrees or whatever
40,
it is?
40 is the low. Yeah.
If they have a rule, maybe others should follow. Maybe the league should follow as well. And it might be a good idea, to Murph's earlier point. Might be a good idea to schedule UConn home games instead of having home games back to back in April. Maybe back second half of the year would be the worst thing.
3 quick points that are all sort of related to all of this. Joe Sheridan walked 6 guys in his start. And although Joe's had a little problem with control in some starts, again, Coach Lovelady attributed those 6 walks to the fact that he couldn't feel – he didn't have a good feel for his pitches. He literally didn't have a good feel for his pitches. And also, I think UCF has 22 games left. 19 of them are in the state of Florida. The other 3 are in Houston. So we're done with the snow. He also wanted to say, Coach Lovelady used the phrase, I don't think this is also accidental. He used the phrase that the series against UConn snowballed on them.
I like that.
Look at that. He's a wordsmith.
Now, let me say this. I know it's all negative here. There is one positive. The one positive they gained from this is UConn's a good team. And Jeff, you can speak to this. You've covered the baseball championships in Clearwater, which, by the way, last I checked, Jeff, you can confirm, not 30-degree weather in Clearwater when they play over there for the Bay. Okay. Connecticut's a real good team. Coach Pender is maybe one of the most underrated coaches in the country, considering the success he's had at Connecticut. So UCF benefited from an RPI standpoint playing that series. So I will say that in fairness. And UConn is a very good ball club. So let's not. I don't want to make it that I'm discrediting the baseball team for their performance and being a good team. That's a good team. That's a good team, and that was a wild series back and forth. It had a little bit of everything, and so I would not panic. I would not flip out as far as what does this mean for the season. I kind of throw it out. The NBA, if you follow the NBA, there's this term, a schedule loss, where a team maybe sometimes is playing on a back-to-back one night and they're playing a team that's just fresh at home and they get blown out. Well, that's a schedule loss. I would equate this series to a schedule loss. It's a playing up north in a bad weather in a bad time of year. That's a schedule loss.
Well, schedule loss or not, UCF right now is 4-5 in the league, and if you look at the baseball standings, they're third from the bottom. All right, so I guess my last thing on baseball, then we'll move on to softball. Murph, do we hit the big red panic button now?
No, and I know Jeffrey has that big red panic.
I have my finger on the button.
I mean, he's already fired Aaron Boone, so he's pushing the panic button on the Yankees 12 games in. And I know you're ready to just smash the heck out of this panic button on UCF baseball, but you can turn the phrase of they're third from the bottom. They're also 2 games out of first. So
mash that thing like the A button on a Nintendo controller.
Boy, it's just killing me. You're taking my heart out. But I will say, so they come to home, a really good win against Miami. Not a great win from an RPI standpoint, but it's nice to beat Miami, and all in the fact that that game, they played really well in 3 phases. They pitched really well. Free Frinfrock was fantastic through 5 innings. The bullpen was great. Bryce Tucker celebrated the last out of the game by basically headbutting Logan Heiser. It was pretty phenomenal. And now they get a chance to play Cincinnati, who is not great RPI-wise, second worst in the American. But Cincinnati is tied with Houston at the top of the AC standings at 6-3, UCF 4-5. So, again, there's 2 games separating the top team in the conference and the team that's tied for next to last in the conference. It'll be an interesting weekend. I want to see if Joe Sheridan can control his walk rate again. JJ Montgomery, Lovelady had said JJ Montgomery has sort of broken through that wall of, dealing with longer outings now that he's out of the pen and into the starting rotation and dealing with his first major season in D1 college baseball. How will he respond? He was actually pretty good in Connecticut, and he was pitching in that game where they had a bunch of errors. If he had better defensive luck, he probably gets the win there. Matthew Mike is hitting 390 since his early season slump, and Rylan Thomas is bar none one of the best hitters in the country. He's OPSing about 1,200, and it's phenomenal to talk to him. It's amazing because he just doesn't really care about the stats. He really just cares about winning, and he doesn't gloat on himself at all. But man, those stats he's putting up are pretty phenomenal.
By the way, the answer to the trivia question from earlier, who is the actual credited father of baseball and is not Abner Doubleday, the answer to that question is Alexander Cartwright. Alexander Cartwright for 500.
He kind of gets the shaft, right? Like James Naismith gets all the credit for basketball. Everybody knows James Naismith. Nobody ever knows the baseball guy. Why do you think you both are baseball guys? Why is that?
Baseball was an agglomeration of various different games that came over from Britain, and there were rules over here and rules that other people in Massachusetts played by, and Alexander Cartwright was the first one who really actually published the rules of something recognizable as baseball today. Whereas, James Naismith, no one else invented basketball elsewhere. I mean, he was the only guy in the building, and he wrote down the rules, in Springfield. So,
I think Richard Crepeau right now, former professor at UCF, would be proud of you, Jeff. Right now. By the way, I'm going to agree with Murph. I would agree. You know what UCF's baseball record was at this point last year in the conference?
No.
Go for it.
5-4. 5-4.
Yeah.
They've actually they started 2-4 and were getting blown out against East Carolina before they made a magical comeback. One game, so they were 2-4. They won it. They went just to improve to 5-4. They swept East Carolina just to go to 5-4 in conference. And if memory serves me right, things kind of turned out well at the end. So let's not panic. I think they'll be fine. Very interesting note, though, by the way, Murph. You're actually selling that. As strange as it sounds, I agree. Miami, which kind of one of the more underrated stories, is how far they have fallen off a cliff as a baseball program. They're about to miss the NCAA tournament for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
UCF's RPI, according to Warren Nolan projects live RPI numbers. Actually, UCF went up to 53 following the Miami win. That went up 11 spots. That's huge. That's a real positive slate. I do think this Cincinnati series is critical because this is one of the bottom teams, quote unquote, in the league. Their RPI is not great. I think this is a series you have to win if you want to be serious about trying to chase down an East Carolina type or a Houston type to win the league. I think this is a must-win series at home against Cincinnati. I will say that and get on track. But I watched the Miami game on the bus, actually, coming back from Jacksonville at softball. And, boy, I thought it was a clean game. The pitching was good. I think that this team has still got its best baseball ahead of them.
Well, like you said, Elo, they do have the 3 games coming up against Cincinnati Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 6:30, noon at John Juliano Park. So that's a big series coming up to see if they can get back on track after the UConn after the UConn mess. And that 4-0 win against Miami again, really a huge help. I can't believe we kind of like skated over that, but you go down to Coral Gables and beat Miami. Still, that's going to raise some eyebrows. So Cincinnati coming up in this 3-game set in conference, so that's going to be key coming up. All right. Coincidental to baseball, softball was also at UConn this past weekend, and they also dropped 2 out of 3. Now, they had a doubleheader on Saturday that they split, winning 8-3 and then losing 11-3. And then they lose the rubber game on Sunday 5-1. Elo, you were paying attention to what was going on over there. Similar situation, I'm guessing, also at softball. No lights, bad weather, and it turned out I guess, in the home team's favor, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, everything we just said about the baseball series pretty much applies to the softball series. Softball didn't play good defensively either. There were more errors than they usually make. What a coincidence. Yeah, it's shocking development. You can't play defense. Wow, it's hard to catch a ball in 30-degree weather. You don't say.
UConn, by the way, in 15 and 24, 2-7 in the American in softball, and they still.
That's the unfortunate. Well, that's the unfortunate thing is, yes, that hurts UCF from a resume standpoint because UConn, obviously, the numbers don't. Although UConn did beat Texas A&M, who's nationally ranked. They beat them in Storrs, Connecticut. They got good young pitching. Well, it was, again, you've got a young ball club. And here's the thing. There's 2 seniors on that roster. There's probably, I'll tell you exactly, there's 4 players on that roster that made the trip that was on the team 2 years ago when they went up to Storrs, Connecticut and saw snow. What I'm saying is the rest of this group went up there for the first time ever. Most of them, and I've talked to most of them, I would say about 9 out of 10 in that roster has never played in 30-degree weather and never seen snow. It's easy to say, well, you got to adjust to the – no. A veteran team maybe can overcome that thing. A young team didn't. I was concerned. I warned you about this last week. And, look, we
were right about the weather.
The weather didn't help, and the doubleheader schedule didn't help. Aaliyah threw the first game. But she was not as sharp, and it's probably similar to what happened with Sheridan. She had grip issues. She's never seen that. She's never pitched in cold weather before. It's a different animal, and that's just the reality. And people could say it's an excuse, but no, it's not. Baseball is not supposed to be played in cold weather. Let me know when you've ever seen a great baseball game being played in 30-degree weather. It doesn't happen. Look, you want to know why the Yankees are struggling? It's not because they have bad players or bad managers, because they're playing in bad weather.
Oh, right? I don't know about. Well, hold on. No, I don't know if we want to go there. I think Jeff is already hung up. Jeff just hung up.
I'm going to keep my mouth shut on this one.
Are you really going to throw Aaron Boone out after 2 weeks?
I'm keeping my mouth shut. I know one thing. If the boss was still alive, he'd be throwing things.
Oh, if the boss was still alive, they would have fired this guy. Hey. Please. Wow. No, it wasn't the cold weather. They've had a lot of injuries. The pitching hasn't been great. Giancarlo Stanton and most of the lineup have not done well, other than basically Aaron Judge. But
wait a minute, did you not watch the home openers against Tampa Bay? They were playing in a Winter Classic. I thought it was the Winter Classic. I thought the Rangers were going to play the home opener that night.
Winter Classic.
That's not a good example, because they won both the games against the Rays because the Rays were awful.
Well, the Rays are a double-A team, so
yes. The Durham Bulls could beat the Tampa Bay Rays right now. But Elo, it's despite these two losses, UCF is still 6-3 in the league, one game back of USF, which is really actually a bummer. They could be they could be all alone in first place right now if things had gone a little bit differently. So a little bit easier lift to recover from this than baseball, no?
Well, they bounced back. I was there with them on Wednesday when they beat UNF 5-3. Aaliyah bounced back, got a good win. So, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The American Conference, and we didn't mention this in the baseball side, the baseball is the fifth best RPI in college baseball. Softball's number 4 in the sport. So the point is, the reason I bring that up for both sides is there are still a lot of quality games to go here where both teams can really, they're going to play themselves into postseason or play themselves out because they're going to get opportunities. And I think for softball, it starts this weekend. They're going to play a Memphis team that's in the 64 RPI range that has beaten Ole Miss in their schedule. From there, they're going to have to go to Wichita State, who could be in a position to host. They're in the 20s in RPI. South Florida's in the 30s in RPI. I mean, this league, top to bottom, is strong. I think it's a 3 to 4 bid league, and the question will be, it's a banged-up UCF team. Again, I mentioned this, not excuse. It's a fact. They went up there, and they had some injuries that developed because of the weather in part. So they're not 100% health, and that's what I'll leave it as that. So they're going to get over that. Memphis is a tough team. It's going to be a big series. It's a big home series. Just like I said, it is for baseball. I think it's a big one for softball because after this series, they got to go to Wichita State. I'm talking conference games only. They got to go to Wichita State, and then they got to go to USF right after that. And you can make the argument that those are the two best teams right there with Tulsa in the top of the league. So this is a big series for them to kind of stay up there at the top and then take their shot with Wichita and USF on the road. Because if you lose this series, now all of a sudden it's kind of like you're kind of putting yourself back in the pack. So this is a big series. I think we'll learn a lot, see how they handle this. But I am concerned about the offense because they're a little banged up right now, and that's got me concerned. And they're a little banged up in the pitching staff, so their depth is not as good right now at this hour. So it's going to be interesting to see how they fare against Memphis. But again, lots of games to go. Top 4 RPI, got a lot of quality games to go. It's going to be I think they got a shot here to still accomplish their goals, but it starts this weekend.
60 RPI for UCF softball right now. Their upcoming schedule, where is it? There, it's pulled it up. After that 5-3 win over UNF, home for Memphis for 3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this is a big weekend too, Elo, not just because of obviously, you're trying to get back on track after losing to UConn, who had an RPI in the 100s, if I'm not mistaken there. But it's alumni weekend coming up.
It is. There's a lot of the alumni are coming back this weekend. Friday night's game, Janae Shinhoster, you know very well, Jeffrey, will be throwing out the first pitch. Saturday, which I believe you're doing PA?
I'm doing PA Friday and Saturday.
All right, good. So you'll get I'm giving you an advance notice on this. Because I wrote most of your script already.
Good.
Friday, Janae
Put it in my Dropbox for when we're done recording.
I think Timmy, our marketing guy, has got it for you. I think me and him, he went on the trip to the UNF game, and him and I kind of ironed it out a little bit, along with so we took care of business. So Saturday, the 2008 Conference USA championship team, the 10-year anniversary, by the way. They will be honored before the game. They will be introduced separately from the current team per Jeff's request. So they will be, I believe, introduced. I'm just stating facts. I believe, at least at this recording, things may tweak or be changed by the time you get to the ballpark. But I believe, as I've been told when I last spoke to the company, is that the 08 team will be introduced following the Memphis team's introductions. And then after the 08 team is introduced, then you'll introduce the current team. But a lot of the 08 team will be back, as well as some of the staff members on the 08 team. But a lot of the alumni will be here as a whole, the whole weekend. Sunday, they're it's an 11 a.m. game now. will be they're going to honor a lot of the alumni that aren't on the 08 team necessarily, although some of them are probably be included. Will be introduced before the game as well. But that's going to be a cool deal. Allison Kime will be throwing out the first pitch on Saturday. I know she's excited about that. So it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. And then I know that the alumni after the game on Saturday will be eating with the current team at the batting cage afterwards. So it's going to be fun. It's great to always see the alums there. I know we've talked about how Greg Lovelady's kind of enthused the alumni coming back to baseball. And I think you're seeing the same thing now at softball. We've had a good turnout of alumni where they've gone in road games, and a lot of them, from what I understand, will be back this weekend. So I think a lot of people are very excited about that. Should be a fun weekend from that standpoint.
Cool. Well, I know I'll be there. I know you'll be there. And it's good to have the team back home in above freezing weather for once. So,
hey, what? Right. I mean, in normal weather. By the way, real quick. I do think at some point long term here, because I hear UConn fans on social media constantly complain they don't have a rival in the league. They don't have, they missed this to the Big East days, yada, yada, yada. At some point, I would say this. I think of all the schools in the league, they're probably have been the least embrace of the league. They've constantly complained about this. At some point, you got to accept reality. Either fully embrace this or be quiet. And I think at some point that has to be addressed. I think we can't have the stuff that happened last weekend at the baseball softball series. We got two great leagues for baseball and softball, and I think in fairness, they are building a new facility for softball up there in Connecticut. But I do think, look, either fully invest or don't, or get out would be my advice.
Well, that's easier said than done. I mean, it's that's like the same.
Be quiet.
That's like the same argument then. That they make about UCF football. We'll join a better league. Oh, okay, man, we hadn't thought about that. Oh, wait, yes, we have.
Well, no, but here's the thing. The reality is this. I hate to break the news to you, UConn. You're never going to be any good in football. Nobody's going to care about your football program. So you have a choice to make. You could be really good. You're already good at basketball. You hope you are anyway. It meant with Dan Hurley. We'll see. Embrace baseball and softball. Or if you don't, then get out. That would be my advice. Either embrace it or get out.
Get out. And go where?
Go back to the Big East. Go to the Big East, play your little basketball, and then, go play your football where probably it belongs, like some other division, like
Murph.
the MAC.
Oh, what? I'm sorry. I checked out there because I heard a man screaming, "Get off my lawn, UConn! Get off my lawn!"
I mean, can you you're in a good league. Stop complaining, fans.
Is it UConn's fault that the fans feel that way?
Yes, partially, yes. I
Why?
do because I don't think they've kind of enabled that thinking. I think they've enabled that thinking. And Gino Auriemma has said that. You've been there. He's talked about their fans being spoiled, how they complain when they don't beat a team by 50.
Yeah, but that's a whole different reason why.
You know what? UConn fans and Yankee fans are a lot alike. They're spoiled brats
who
overreact and one manager's
How dare you?
I mean, really, Eric, what have we ever done to you to deserve?
Okay. All right. I'm pulling the managing editor card and saying we're gonna take a break right now.
Let me ask you something, both of you. How do you defend booing Giancarlo Stanton in his home opener?
It's New York.
It's
New York. Don't strike out 5 times. Eric, you know how it is. The minute he hits a home run, everyone loves him. It's
how about you guys
all or
settle
nothing
down?
with Yankee fans. What are we going to do? Sit on our hands?
Now, well, don't tell me to settle down. I'm the one who's trying to fire Aaron Boone. I mean, it doesn't
I'm going to live with this the rest of the year, aren't I?
You are, absolutely. You're firing him 5% of the way into the season. It's not like booing Giancarlo Stanton is any less ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous. They booed him in like the 8th game of the year. And I know he's been bad, like relatively, but like it is what it is. Like it's stupid, it's asinine, it's ridiculous, and it's what they do. So I'm just gonna sit here and let them do what they do. I'm gonna let Philly fan try to run Gabe Kapler out of town after game 1. All right, because that's what they do as well. It's ridiculous, it's stupid, it's asinine. It's what they do.
Jeff, do you want Gabe Kapler fired as a Phillies manager too?
I want them to keep him. Please keep Gabe Kapler in Philadelphia. I beg you.
All right, let me educate both of you and all Yankee fans about Giancarlo as someone who has followed him as a Marlins fan. He's always bad.
Very unaware.
He's always bad in April. He'll be fine. All right. Once the weather actually improves in New York, he'll start hitting. We're going full circle here. He hasn't played in good weather. He's not used to playing in those type of conditions because when he played in Miami, they had a dome. They played inside of a dome, basically. He'll be fine. Just give him a break. Settle down.
Who's Giancarlo Stanton? I haven't heard him since he was Michael Stanton. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? Like, I don't watch him.
Oh, boy. In the meantime, I'm going to frantically check the 10-day forecast for the Bronx. And when we return, we're going to switch gears over to volleyball. Great conversation I had with Todd Dagenais this week, a head volleyball coach, filling us in on the details of his team's international trip. You get to do this once every 4 years in the NCAA. And they're going to be heading out to Puerto Rico for a great cause. So we have that coming up here in just a second. Stick around. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty. Sam Unger and his team proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. Sam is a proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and he's such a dedicated Knight fan that right now, if you work with him as your realtor, he will donate a portion of his commission to the UCF Football Excellence Fund in your name. So if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, upgrade or downsize, Sam and his team have you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give them a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit on the web at WeSellOrlando.net. Again, that's WeSellOrlando.net. You can also reach them on Facebook at facebook.com/WeSellOrlando. Get in touch with the Unger Real Estate Group today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Hello, Knight Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
You know, Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, Brian Murphy with you. Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret, blackandgoldbanneret.com, and UCF_Banneret on Twitter. And this gives us the opportunity to put in our breaking news drop. Here it is.
Yes.
Elo, what do you got?
Big news. Obviously, as we record this on a Thursday night, the Big Three draft, which is a big 3-on-3 league run by Ice Cube, is doing their big draft. And with the 14th pick in the draft, the Ball Hogs, yes, that's the team and franchise name, the Ball Hogs, which is led by the player captain Brian Scalabrine, by the way.
This is amazing.
Josh Childress. Select Jermaine Taylor with the 14th pick. Jermaine Taylor, baby. Going to be back and playing on the Big Three, which most of their games are on FS1 and all that. So JT getting some basketball on the Big Three there this upcoming summer here coming up here in the Big Three league.
He's already. I'm already putting in putting him in the running for the MVP of the league. I'm doing it right now.
By the way, have you seen like the draft? Like, did you look at like who else was drafted?
Well, yeah,
no,
it's pretty awesome.
All right, well, we got Birdman, Chris Anderson.
Birdman was fourth. He was the fourth pick.
Jason
Maxiel,
Q Rich, Ryan Hollins, Salim Stoudemeyer, Robert Height from Miami. Remember him, Eric?
Yeah.
Marcus Banks, Mike James went. Bonzi Wells went 18th overall.
Bonzi Wells from the Rasheed Wallace,
from the
Damon Stoudemire, Jermaine O'Neal Blazers.
Yeah. Ryan Gomes from Providence.
Yep. Yeah.
So Jermaine's in actually, I think, some pretty interesting company, and for a guy who's he's good enough, young enough where he could dominate the league if he can score.
He's in great shape. I mean, he'll flourish. I mean, Andre Emmett, former Texas Tech number 2 pick over.
And he was up at the draft, by the way. They televised the draft on FS1.
I see that.
And he was
good
there.
for him.
So, this is, boy, I'm really intrigued by this. I'm really intrigued to see, to see how this is going to turn out for him. So, all right, so happy for Jermaine. Really happy for Jermaine. He deserves to get as many opportunities as he can possibly get. So, and in basketball, a job's a job. So, so we're happy for him. So there's our breaking news on Jermaine Taylor. All right, let's switch over to volleyball. I had a great conversation with Todd Dagenais. He's going to be our interview tonight. Todd, his team gets NCAA rules state that your volleyball teams can do an international tour once every 4 years. And this year, 2018, the team is raising funds to go to Puerto Rico from June 23rd to July 3rd. They've got there's links on UCFKnights.com. Todd's going to go into the details here, but this is more than just a volleyball tour. This is a humanitarian mission, basically, that they're about to go on. And Todd has the details. So we're going to give you some more information on how you can help in a little bit, but let's go right to the interview. So here is my interview yesterday. This was recorded on Wednesday with UCF's head volleyball coach, Todd Dagenais. Joining me now is head coach Todd Dagenais of UCF Volleyball as his Knights are gearing up and raising funds for their 2018 international tour out to Puerto Rico, planned for June 23rd to July 3rd, and they're finishing up spring training right now. Coach, how's it going?
It's going really well, Jeff. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing good. Good talking to you again. I know it's, the spring volleyball has sort of become a little bit of a bigger deal, I think, year by year. How has the spring gone to this point? You guys have played a few matches, showed out pretty good against USF. You got one more against Florida Southern coming up. How's everything looking at this point in the season?
Yeah, it does. Spring changes every year based on the personnel. The more experienced you are, the more challenging and the more complex you get with your systems and you know how much you open up your playbook. And then, like we are right now, we're still a very young team, and we're still trying to work on technique and individual skill level and things along those lines. And so this spring really has been about the individual player, not so much about system. Not so much about starters and non-starters. It's just been about trying to develop individual skill level of play to collectively try to put together this summer and this fall as we move forward.
So you've got as you finish up here, you got to give the players obviously some time off, and then it's time for this summer tour. You've been going around, kind of touting this, and this is the NCAA says that you can do these kinds of things about once every 4 years. So just give us the lay of the land of how these international tours work for college volleyball teams.
Well, it's a great opportunity for players to experience parts of the world, like a normal student can do. But the plan this year really was to try to go to Europe, go experience the wonderful culture over there. Slovenia, Slovakia, Hungary, Italy, and play matches over there. We just signed a player from Puerto Rico, and when I was down there recruiting her and watching her and staying in a really nice part of the island, Miramar, and to still see the devastation from the hurricanes that hit last fall, and that was in the nice area. And as you drive around to areas that I remember being vibrant and, bustling, and just to see the damage that was in those areas, And then I decided, I just want to see for myself. And I jumped in the rental car and I drove, about 9-10 kilometers, 5 miles, something like that. And to see the just utter devastation to the infrastructure, to houses that were completely leveled. It was, Jeff, I can't describe it. I just can't describe the pits in the stomach that I felt when I saw families living in tents and knowing summer was coming and there was no water, no food, no electricity. I can't even imagine, what they're living, what that's like living in that kind of situation. So yeah. Instead of taking the team to Italy, I thought, this is a great opportunity. The UCF Athletic Department does such a great job with their Knights Without Borders program and reaching out and doing community service and recognizing our neighbors that are out there. I think of Orlando as being, UCF's hometown team. UCF is hometown team for Orlando. And there's so many Puerto Ricans here in the metro Orlando area and surrounding areas. And I thought, this is really our calling. This is what we need to do. We need to go down to Puerto Rico and do what little drop in the bucket that we can do to help. And so all of a sudden, a trip to Italy became a trip to Puerto Rico. And sure, there's going to be a great competition component because we're going to have an opportunity to play their national team and a couple of their college teams, both of which their seasons got washed out. They haven't been able to play for a long time. Yet they still have to gear up and get ready for what's next. So we're going to help them on a volleyball sense, help their national team get some competition, help their college teams get back on their feet. But there's such a small part of what we really want to do. And I think what we want to do is we want to continue to bring awareness to what's happening down there. And that's the fact that the island was decimated, devastated, obliterated. The infrastructure is gone. And yet in the news cycle, we've lost sight of the fact that one of our very own, American residents, they're suffering. And so we partnered up with a wonderful charity. Dr. Jocelyn Hunter is the founder of a charity called Awi Angel Wings. And what she does and what she's been doing since the storms hit, she was the second plane to land in Puerto Rico after the storms. And food, water, canned goods, supplies, batteries, things. She's been doing this every week or 2 weeks since the hurricanes hit. So having a chance through a mutual friend to meet her and knowing that we wanted to show solidarity with our own community and their families that are living in Puerto Rico, it really created a wonderful opportunity for us to partner up with Angel Wings and get this project going where we're going to do a ton of community service while we're down there playing. And that community service is going to be as simple as handing out the shipments when they land. It's going to be putting together family packs that families can come get, survival kits, get them through another few days. Doing clinics with little kids in gyms that are still falling apart.
Wow.
And there's just so many things that we feel like we can do that are little, that really in the world of, what they need, it's so small, but it's something that we can do. And so that really became the genesis of our project.
You have done a lot of work, even going back to, your time back in USC and Michigan State, doing a lot of, work similar to this. But, this takes on, I think, just like you mentioned, this is kind of taken on a whole new sort of meaning and life of its own. You coached, I know, at least one player who calls Puerto Rico their home territory, Roxy Mendez. I know that UCF has had several players from Puerto Rico as well. Leire Sante back in the early 2000s comes to mind. Have those alumni reached out to you about this, and have you and helped out with getting involved, as well as obviously with the current players too?
We have talked to alumni, not only alumni here, but I've had players from Michigan State, from Southern California. They're Puerto Rico's libero from this past Olympics, the first Olympics they've ever made. had a libero that I coached at Southern Cal and had players at Southern California from Puerto Rico. So we're reaching out to everybody. And, I think people are excited about what we're trying to do. I think it's just starting to swell, the groundswell of support with the local community understanding that UCF is behind the people of Puerto Rico, as well as the people that have got out of Puerto Rico and now settled into Orlando. We've obviously had a huge influx of people from Puerto Rico. Talking to many friends down there, they joke that the capital of Puerto Rico is now Orlando. And there's a lot of truth to that, because there are hundreds of thousands of people that have moved into the Central Florida area, trying to escape what's happening down there right now. So I've been in contact with a lot of people, and people are stepping up and they're helping out. And it's just really exciting to see how people are taking this. For me, this is now personal. This is not just charity work. We have several people involved in our program. Our volunteer assistant last year is Puerto Rican. His family is still down there. His brother is here, but his family is down there. This is personal at this point. And I really want our program, I want our athletic department, I want our university, I want our community to step up and do whatever it is that we can to continue supporting the recovery down there. And if nothing else, I don't know that we're going to be able to fix the electrical grid. We can't fix the fact that water's not running. But what we can do is we can try to help them out on a day-to-day effort and continue with those organizations and those foundations that are religiously flying things down to help support and, get the basics to the people down there that need it most.
Yeah, this is definitely, it's been a worthy cause, and you're so right about what you said earlier about how it's just kind of fallen out of the news cycle. And it's really a shame, because these are also our fellow, American citizens who are down there that are struggling and just to meet day-to-day basic needs low on Maslow's hierarchy, if you will. And it's amazing. So the big question to you now is, what can we in the UCF community do to help?
Well, I think right now the best thing that we can do is, the volleyball team is still in the process of fundraising so we can go. And we're just finishing up that fundraising process. It looks like we're about $7,000 or $8,000 short of our goal of $25,000. People can go right to UCFKnights.com, click on volleyball, click on donate. There'll be more stories coming out about other ways of donating. If people want to donate pallets of water or canned goods or things like that, we'll make sure that we include that information for the foundation, where people can donate to that should they choose to do so. But we're just at the front of this right now, and more information is going to start coming out on a weekly basis of how people can help. And I really hope that the community gets behind this. The one thing that we're really taking ownership of, and we're just about to launch this, is a clothing drive, because that's something that families need as much as anything else. And so we're going to challenge students to clean out their closets at the end of the semester. You remember what it's like being in college. You really want to carry your clothes with you.
Right.
The old clothes you're not wearing anymore. What do you do with them?
All those free T-shirts that you get from all those events in the first 2 weeks of the semester.
There you go. Yeah. Exactly. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage students that are living in the dorms, living around campus, clean out your closet, bring it to a centralized area in a zone on campus, and just leave the clothes, and we'll take care of it from there. And so we're going to start a major clothing site here that we're about to announce, and we'll let people know through releases and through social media the best way to donate unwanted clothing. And I really hope that we can just bring tons and tons and tons of clothes for all ages, men and women, boys and girls, babies, and just get them on get everything on a charter flight and ship it down along with the food and water that goes down every couple weeks. So that's really our push right now, as much as this is competitive. And we're going to get some competition out of this, obviously. It gives Jordan Pingle and Christina Fisher a chance to get back out there and play since they've had their surgery. So there's certainly a volleyball component, but it pales in comparison to what the mission is here.
Yeah.
There's much bigger concerns that we're trying to address with this trip.
Good stuff. Well, I know that we're going to try our best to help out as much as we can in helping you get the word out. And that clothing drive certainly is something that we're going to keep an eye out on too. I know I personally am, and Eric and Brian and Derek and the rest of us here at the Banneret, we're going to help you out every way we can with that. And we hope that everyone that who listens to the podcast and hops on our social media channels and our website can also help out as well. So best of luck with the clothing. Best of luck, obviously, with the clothing drive. Best of luck with the fundraising as well. And one more time, where UCF fans can help out with the fundraising as well.
And just go to UCF.com, click on the volleyball where it says sports, and then there's going to be a button right there to donate directly to our expenses going down. But then I would say follow us on Twitter at UCF_volleyball. That is where all of the news releases are going to come out as things are happening. And that is where they'll get their news on where they can donate clothes, where they can donate food, where they can donate water. We'll get that stuff out in a timely fashion. So please, for those that are out there, people that are being affected by this one way or another, or at least a relative of somebody that's being affected by this. And I hope that we can show that Orlando cares. I hope that we can show that we are Orlando's hometown team, and I hope that we can all step up and continue the efforts in the recovery of helping these people meet their basic needs, because like you said, it's gone from the news cycle and they are still in desperate need of help.
Right on. So we'll be sure to help that out. Head coach Todd Dagenais of UCF Volleyball. Also, don't forget to follow him at UCFVB Todd. Is that right on Twitter?
You got it. Everything that we do, whether it's through UCF Nights, or at UCF Volleyball, also goes through my Twitter, so at UCF VB Todd. And then, of course, our volleyball is at UCF_volleyball. So they can follow us along there, and we hope that they continue to track our progress on this.
Spot on, Todd. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thanks to Todd. UCF_volleyball is the Twitter handle. UCFVB Todd is his Twitter handle. That's where they're going to be pumping out a lot of information. And if you go to the UCF Volleyball page on UCFnights.com, or you follow them on Twitter, you can. There are several links out there where you can actually donate for the Puerto Rico tour, and keep an eye out for the news that Todd is going to be pushing out for the clothing drive. So. Such a great cause, and I know that I have a bunch of clothing that I'm looking to donate as well. If we can, as much as we can, help UCF Volleyball, reach their mission of trying to help the people of Puerto Rico, who are unbelievable in the United States, that they're still recovering from the storm. That it's a worthy cause. It really is. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and trying to push as much information as it comes to us. Throughout the rest of throughout the entire time. So, all right. By the way, I wanted to flip back to the Big Three thing real quick. You know who Jermaine Taylor's head coach is going to be with the Ball Hogs in the Big Three League?
Oh God, the anticipation.
Oh yeah, Rick Barry.
Oh,
Rick Barry, sort of like unofficial NBA exile. Rick Barry. So that
can we try to get the Ice Cube, the commissioner? Is he the commissioner of the league, right? He's the commissioner. I know he's the owner of the league. Maybe he's not the commissioner. I don't know who's the commissioner.
Well, if he owns the league, he can be whatever the heck he wants to be.
Well, we need to bring him on. Let's bring on. Let's bring him on, talk about JT, and then talk about the old NWA. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
I will say also that's a great idea. I really don't want to cut that off because I think we should definitely have a podcast with Ice Cube talking about the NWA right now. I don't care. But Big Three play starts in June. There is a week in July 20th. The Big Three would play out of the American Airlines Arena in Miami. So if you probably want to see Jermaine, that's your best chance.
All right, good. Well, there no Orlando dates?
No. They got a lot of Houston, Chicago, Oakland, Detroit, Toronto, Boston, Atlanta, Dallas, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Ah, man. L.A.? Did I hear L.A. in that?
No, the closest they get to L.A. is Oakland. They play in the Oracle, so maybe we'll definitely.
LA.
I mean,
that's surprising. Okay.
I mean, it's Oakland. Ice
we
Cube.
need to have them down here in Orlando. We need to make this happen somehow. I don't know how, but we need to make this happen.
Again, that's all about you and Ice Cube getting together on this podcast and working it out.
Listen, man, Orlando's the place to be. We'll help you out. So, all right. I wanted to catch up on some other things real quick while we have the opportunity. And Todd Dagenais did mention this, and it actually is official. Pauline Perez signs a national letter of intent for UCF Volleyball. Paulina is an outside hitter from Colegio San Benito in Guanica, Puerto Rico. So quite the Puerto Rico pipeline for UCF Volleyball, especially over the last 20 years. So I know Todd was really excited about that signing. So congratulations to Paulina Perez. UCF tennis, real quick. Men's tennis is right now they are at where are they? They're 10-8, and they have one match to go. They lost at Memphis 4-0. They have one match to go at the USTA National Campus. That's against USF on Sunday, April the 15th on Tax Day. So if you want to have one more chance to catch men's tennis, and by the way, War on I 4 points on the line for that. So that's the last opportunity that you'll have for men's tennis. Women's tennis, by the way, Eric Lopez, 17-2. They just continue to roll. Their next match will be Friday against Tulsa on the road, and then at Wichita State on Sunday. And that wraps the regular season for them before they play in the American Athletic Conference Championships on Wednesday, April 18th in Dallas. So that's how that will be starting. Spring football.
And again,
go ahead.
I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say this every time we talk women's tennis. They're undefeated since what happened, Jeff?
Since we had Brian Kaneko on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Just point
all
it
you
out.
Coaches and future guests, good karma comes when you come here on the Banneret. That's
right.
all I'm saying.
Spring football, April 21st, right around the corner. By the way, you talked about Greg Lovelady and Coach Gillespie and the move to help get alumni more involved. How about Josh Heupel reaching out to a lot of alumni from what I've been hearing over at football? And Mike Kruzek stopped by practice this past week. Did you see that?
Yes,
that was
showed
cool.
up there.
That was cool.
Now he coaches locally at high school, and he was at Trinity Prep, and I drive past every day, but and he seems to be really really enjoying it out there. But it was good to see Coach Kruzek, who by the way is still built like a tank, out there on the UCF football field. So it was nice seeing the doors open to some familiar names from UCF past, and props to Coach Heupel for doing that. Also, some former players have been they've been reaching out to as well. So we're hoping that they continue to do that. All right.
Let me ask you this real quick before you move on. I'm curious, both of you. Do you think maybe, Kruzek's at practice? Could we see it down the road where maybe Mike Kruzek's honored at a game at halftime, or acknowledged, or something like that? Could you see that?
I would hope he would
possibility.
I would hope he would be. Yeah, I mean, well, why not? I mean, considering the length of time that he was there at a very pivotal time for UCF football. I'd be in favor of that.
Well,
nice
is he going to have a
reaction
is he going to have a statue?
No,
I wouldn't put a statue.
Man,
I hate saying that. I don't know.
Wow,
man. God,
Murph's getting ready for '90s night in baseball, going heelish there. That's a little
heeled,
going going in, kind of NWO-esque there. A statue, bringing up the statue. Wow.
Track and I'm going to leave that right there. Track and field. Track and field is back in Gainesville on Friday for the Tom Jones Memorial. It's a one-day event up in Gainesville. Of course, they just had the Pepsi Relays 2 weeks ago. The Pepsi Florida Relays 2 weeks ago that UCF performed at. And then next week they're at Auburn for the War Eagle Invitational. So mid-May is the American Athletic Conference championships in track and field outdoor. And rowing actually is at Clemson on Saturday and Sunday for a big meet up there, the Clemson Invitational. And Clemson usually a national power in rowing, so we'll see how UCF stacks up against the Tigers and the other competition there. All right, let's wrap this thing up, boys. What do you guys? Murph, we'll start with you. What do you have in the hopper this week?
I am currently working on a UCF baseball notebook, kind of previewing the Cincinnati series and just kind of spotlighting some things that are happening with the team right now, stand-up performers and things to watch this weekend. So I'm currently working on that. That'll be up in the morning.
Has the
Friday
team
morning.
thought out from UConn, all that kind of stuff?
Well, they had that night in Miami. I think it was sufficient amount of time.
Yeah. Well, good thing for that. Elo, what do you have?
All right, so I'm calling the weekend series UCF against Memphis, big series on UCF Nights TV, Friday, 5:30, Saturday, 2 o'clock, Sunday, 11 a.m. Alumni weekend should be fun. Encourage everybody to come out and check that out. If you go to fastpitchnews.com, you see my in-depth feature on Allison Keim and Angel Shamblin, Keim, former UCF pitcher. Big rivalry with Shamblin going back to UCF and Houston. Both teams, by the way, both schools. I mentioned earlier, UCF's honoring the 08 team on Saturday. Houston's honoring their 08 team on Sunday. They're playing Wichita State. So I went in depth, talked to Angel and Allison about their rivalries and how both of them overcame very significant and serious injuries early in their careers that many thought would derail their careers. That almost didn't happen. So really enjoyed that, talking to both of them and having an in-depth piece. That's on fastpitchnews.com. It's a softball site, but UCF there related there with Allison there. So kind of encourage you people to be working on that. And, I'm just doing it in the softball mode. And now probably going to be following the Aaron Boone, firing watch list here going, right, in the next few days. I mean, that's
I'm just posing the question like
Jeff, who do you have replacing Aaron Boone in the next week?
Larry Rothschild.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Girardi.
Joe Girardi. Oh, boy.
Joe Girardi. Can't bring him back.
Bring Joe
Joe's
back.
doing well. Joe Girardi on MLB Network. By the way, it'll be weather forecast. Looks pretty good Friday, Saturday for baseball and softball. Sunday could be tricky. I know there's some concerns about weather. That's one of the reasons why baseball's at noon and softball's at 11 a.m. So make a note of that.
Well, so
You know what I enjoy about this podcast is that we stick to UCF sports and then we have like 15 minutes where we just talk about something that's completely irrelevant to UCF. We did it with the NFL rules like a couple weeks ago, and then we had a huge
relevant.
I mean, it was what it is. And then we did have a WrestleMania preview, which was tied into the article I wrote at blackgoldbanneret.com, but really it was about wrestling. And then today it's been all about Aaron Boone and ragging on Jeffrey for firing Aaron Boone 10 games into the season. And weather. And really, I mean, if you're not following, Mike Seidel and Jim Cantori, I mean, really. So I do enjoy that's like you get a lot of UCF stuff, and then you get like at least 20 minutes of just random. I like it. It's fun.
By the way, I encourage everybody to go to blackandgoldbanneret.com and read the feature in case you haven't, that Murph did on Greg Lovelady and WrestleMania. It's a really good in-depth piece.
I thought it was so cool. It's one of the coolest things we've done.
It's probably, yes, I 100% agree, and I definitely believe it was better than the actual WrestleMania main event. Which,
that's. I am not a fan of my own writing, and I will co-sign that statement.
I'm putting that one away.
Yeah.
I'm putting that one away. You guys start your own wrestling podcast.
Are you coming to the game Friday night, by the way, Jeff? Are you coming out? We've decided this is 90s night. They're encouraging fans to wear wrestling gear, right, Murph? It's wrestling fans wear wrestling like 90s attire, basically. Fans, right?
Sure.
That's kind of the theme.
Sure.
Shirts.
Yeah,
I
don't have any I don't have any Mankind T-shirts.
You want me to lend you my Stone Cold Steve Austin
really
shirt?
Okay. It's really all right. I'm good. Thanks.
But I'm looking forward. I'll be sure to be there at like 5:30, an hour and a half, just so I don't miss any of the festivities or whatever's going to happen, which may not be anything, but I still want to be there.
It's gonna be. I know they're going to have some crazy stuff to read off in between reads. But all right, let's wrap this thing up and get out of here. Don't forget, you can follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, where you have all the latest wrestling. UCF news. You can hit us up at facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret. And
Big Three League. Don't forget Big Three News now.
News, yeah. And UCF _Banneret on Twitter. Follow me at Jeff_Sharon. Follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. Follow Brian at Spokes_Murphy. And you can also download this podcast on Google Play, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Thanks once again to Todd Dagenais for his time and the effort that UCF Volleyball is putting in for the people of Puerto Rico. Follow him at UCF VB Todd. That's UCF VB Todd. And also follow UCF Volleyball at UCF_Volleyball. Also, big thanks to Ian McDougall for helping set that up this week as well. That will do it for us. For Eric and Brian, I'm Jeff. Thanks for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.